What's up, Trek Nation, and welcome back to After the Snap. I'm your host, Tasha Pierce, and I am reviewing Lower Decks episode, I don't know what number it is, but it is the I Excretus episode. And if you'd like to know exactly what the hell I thought of this episode, let's go. Okay, so I Excretus. Now, I owe everybody an apology for not having my review for the Fountain episode, and shout out to Clarence from Discussing Trek because he found, I guess, the passage of a Shakespeare play that title kind of corresponds with, and let me tell you, it was just as sexually explicit as some of that episode got. Yeah. So again, kudos, Clarence. Thank you for sharing that with me as well. Let's talk about I Excretus. So yeah, I Excretus is the one where a consultant arrives on the Cerritos to run drills that require the lower deckers and the bridge crew to swap duties. So that was our episode for this week, and it was episode 8. I couldn't think of what number we were on. I thought it was 9, but maybe that was just wishful thinking. We're going to start from the beginning. In the beginning, there was an opening shot. And in that opening shot, we saw the Cerritos, and it looked absolutely stunning. It was a stunning shot, and I was so excited. This is what we saw in the trailers for this season, where we saw Bohmler, Rutherford, Tendi, and Mariner get left outside of the ship for, I want to say it was 6 hours. Yeah, it was 6 hours, and how any mother could forget that she got her baby outside in space for 6 hours is beyond me. But that comes back up later in the episode because it is part of the reason that this drill instructor shows up on the Cerritos. So we learned that this drill instructor is a Pandronian, and one of the features of a Pandronian, the Pandronian species, is that they can split their body in thirds, which I don't know why that would be a good feature. Like, why would evolution make these people this way? But it is what it is. That's what we got. This is a weird species, like I said. And again, like I asked in the last episode, will there ever be an opportunity to see any of these species in a live action version of Star Trek if they do all these weird ass things? But that was just something I was thinking about. Now, one thing that I noticed right off the bat, and I'm sure you noticed it as well, is that this person has far too much energy. And when people are that energetic and cheerleader and rah, 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 the first thing I wrote right here is I don't trust people like that. I don't trust people who are too energetic and they seem so upbeat like 100% of the time, to the point where you know that this is an act. That's what I don't trust about these people, because if you turned all the way up like that, if you're acting like that, I'd hate to see the real you if you have to go over the top in that manner. And once again, I was right. It was something wrong with this person. It was something wrong. But anywho, like, I also figured there would be a switcheroo with the bridge and the lower deckers, and that's what we got for this drill that this instructor came onto the Cerritos to perform. And then there's like this big freaking jumbotron on the ship where everybody's name is there, and the score that they received on the task that they've been given is right there on the board. So you can see pretty clearly that these people on the Cerritos, they not doing well. But before we got to that, At the 5 minute mark, we jumped off with a sex joke. It's just right, just all over again. We got the sex joke. And I'm thinking to myself, because we've had this conversation more and more since the Mugato Gamato episode, but why is sex such an important part of this season? Because we got far more than these references a little later on in this episode. And it was disturbing to me, to say the least, to see these cartoons, to see these cartoons behaving in this manner. It's a Star Trek cartoon. And that's another thing. Like, I got a best friend, and she doesn't even watch Star Trek. But I was, like, explaining to her that, like, it's a lot of sex talk. She was like, in Star Trek? Even she knows that Star Trek is not known for sexy time. You know, we don't get to see sexy time on the live action Star Treks. So why is it such an important feature in this cartoon? We will never know. But yeah, 5 minutes in, sex joke. It is getting to be a bit much, and I'm through talking about it. Maybe they're trying to desensitize us to sex being a part of Star Trek, but I'm never going to be desensitized to it. That what they seem to fail to realize, and I'm not going to stay on my soapbox long, is that there are some people that I ain't gonna say offensive. It won't be offensive because it's a part of life. But okay, there are those of us, and I'm including myself in that, who are abstinent, just kind of abstain for their own personal reasons, but to kind of being confronted regularly with animated sex, it's kind of like not offensive. What can I say? And it's not tempting. So what can I call this? I guess I could call it insensitive. That everybody is not on that wagon with them. And if this is the wagon they want to be on, it's Star Trek. I'm trying to ride with it. I'm trying to roll with it. But, it is a bit much. It just happens too much. I could get it if it was like once in a blue moon, but it's happening quite regularly now. So that's just me. Okay, so we saw Mariner get assigned to the mirror universe. And I don't know why, but I had to write that the goatee on Bohmler. That just gave me so much joy. Not only the goatee, the little straggly hair he had on the little straggly hair he had on his chest. It just, I don't know, that tickled me. So of course, Mariner attempts to try to take over the Terran Empire. As she's infiltrated, she's the only person that is in this simulation that is from the regular, our Star Trek universe, and she's found out rather swiftly by Bohmler because she used the wrong hand to salute. So she failed, just like that. She failed. Rutherford was faced with like that Spock in Khan or Wrath of Khan type of situation where this warp core was about to blow, and I don't remember what we're saying, but it was releasing an awful lot of radiation. So he was supposed to go in and pretty much play Spock in this situation to save the ship. And by the time he realized how to even get to the warp core, kablooey, it was gone. It was over. It blew up. So that's another big old fail. Then we had Tendi, who we kind of playing on the time that Worf wanted Riker to assist him in suicide, and Riker was like, "No, sir, no can do." Well, in this situation, Tendi was the chief medical officer, and she was tending to a Klingon warrior And his his wish was to be put to death. Well, unfortunately for Tendi, she thought that it was her job to save this Klingon's life when in fact she was supposed to assist him to die. And in fact, it was really, really a wrong thing. It was really wrong for her to save his life. And they were talking about like the redundant organs. They went into all the little Klingon gags, and I was tickled. Not as tickled as I was by Bohmler with the hair. I don't know why that was so funny to me, but I almost fell out of my chair. But then we get to Mariner again, because Mariner, we saw her in a couple of simulations, like that Western episode of TNG, and I cannot remember what the name of it was. And I think we had a Western adjacent episode of TOS as well, where we could have been playing on that as well. But that's why you see, she inspired me to do my urban cowgirl thing. But yeah, she sucked at that. The horse trampled her and shit. And she is supposed to be good with horses, but nope, she got trampled. Yeah, she got trampled by the horses. So that was a big old fail. Then we saw her one more time. And this is where things got graphic. It was so graphic. And it was just like for maybe 10 seconds. But it felt like 37 minutes of my life had passed by looking at the nudity and the simulated kind of sexual acts and Bohmler, that scarred me. That Bohmler scarred me. Now the Bohmler with the hair and the goatee, that was okay, but what Bohmler was doing in the naked time section, it was too much for me. Your girl almost clocked out. If I had known that it was going to be some pretty rough visuals coming, because I got a slight warning ahead of time. If I didn't know it was going to be some pretty rough visuals coming, I think I would have checked out right then. I wouldn't have even seen the end of this episode, because that is how disturbed. I was so disturbed. And I'm laughing, and it's funny, but it's not funny. We got to stop, y'all. We got to stop with this sex stuff. And then the bridge crew, of course, are on the lower decks, and they chilling. They are chilling. They like, it's so easy, blah, 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 until the bridge crew gets some action, and then they yell at them to start stacking crates, and they're octagonal crates, or maybe they're hectagonal. They're either hectagonal or octagonal, but either way, these crates was not going to be easy to stack. Now, of course, they could have stacked them. I mean, we can all kind of like nitpick on how they could have done it, and it would have worked, but they didn't. Therefore, they failed. But we did get some mentions of Q, the Jemadar, and saving Spock from the Genesis planet. So these were all just Easter eggs, and I guess this episode itself was just one gigantic Easter egg. Everything went back to another place in Trek, and then people who are just experiencing Trek with lower decks, when they hear the old heads or the people who've been fans for a long time talking about it, maybe that will be the impetus, what makes them go back and watch some of these older episodes. Yeah, they were hitting things on the nail as far as how things go and the chaotic energy that happens when you get a visit from a Q, or you're being attacked by the Jemadar, or we have to go on a rogue mission to save Spock or anyone from another planet. We got that same chaotic energy, but we only saw that part from the perspective of them on the lower decks. So far, this ship sucks, right? But then we have Bohmler. And Boimler's task was to, and I forgot what he had to do, but it was some Borg shit. Okay, so he was attempting to not get assimilated, of course, by the Borg, by getting off the Borg cube. He got an 80 some the first time, and that wasn't good enough for him. No, I think he got a 79 the first time. That wasn't good enough for him, even though it was passing. So he kept trying because he wanted to get 100%. Now, while this was starting to get a little annoying, like, why do you keep doing this, dude? You have already passed. It's giving us far more insight into Bohmler's character and how he feels about his job, about how to be a successful Starfleet officer. All of the things that we've been learning week after week about Bohmler is bringing us to this moment that he is very prepared for the next step in Starfleet. He finally got a 100% on this Borg mission that he was on, and he was going to leave the holodeck. But while he was repeating his mission over and over again, we learned that the drill instructor came to the ship basically to save her job, because if she keeps going to the ships with the best crew and the best people, they will soon find that they don't need a drill instructor because these crews are 100% ready all of the time. So she went to the California class, Cerritos, and it was specifically because Captain Freeman left Mariner, Rutherford, and Bohmler and Tendi on that planet to freeze while they went to solve this temporal problem that they had been called to. So she was like, anybody who can be that dumb, that's the ship that I need to do drills on because they are going to fail. So Freeman and Mariner had gotten it in their head at first that this was just a team building exercise. They wanted the lower decks and the bridge crew to get closer and to see what it's like living on the other side, because nobody up to this point, nobody had passed their missions. So it did look like it could have possibly been this team building exercise when they all hung out at their little watering hole on the ship. But this drill instructor was like, are you out of your mind? No, this was 100% real. All of y'all are going to get reassigned, and I get to keep my job because I found the worst crew in Starfleet. But then we find out that Bohmler is still in the holodeck, which means drills are still going, which means there is an opportunity to get this drill instructor, and I got to find her name, Shari Yin Yim, her, to get her to change that score from a fail to a pass. Bohmler now has gotten his 100% and he's ready to leave the holodeck, but they tell him that it is imperative that he stays in that holodeck or they are all going to end up split up. And you know, nobody on this ship wants to be split up. The bridge crew doesn't want to be split and sent other places. Definitely your lower deckers are pretty close with one another and they have their core group. They don't want to be split up. So they all put their heads together and decided that this drill instructor, her job was drills. She had never been in any kind of real scary, hairy situation. So they put her in a few. They put her in a few scary, hairy situations, and she does not have the goods to be part of a crew that is actually in space doing the work. These people actually don't test well. So maybe just because you don't test well doesn't mean that you don't have the skills necessary to get yourself out of jam and get a job done, basically. And they scared the shit out of this lady. They're going to crystalline entities, and then they actually started talking about sex, because why the fuck not? Why not at this point? The crystalline entities were having sex too. Everybody having sex but me. Anyhow, all of these different, and finally she was going to a temporal black hole, or she thought she was. She thought she was. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. She gave in and went ahead and passed the Cerritos. And in Captain Freeman's report, she was like, "You're going to lose your job. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job." What you say? Because Captain Freeman's report about this drill instructor's conduct was not going to be glowing. So Bohmler saved the day. They finally got him out of the holodeck. And at the end of the episode, we saw the bridge and the lower decks. They kind of came together. And what the bridge crew did for the lower deckers was installed a new replicator that fed them the exact same rations that was being fed for the bridge crew. They learned to appreciate one another. And that's how it ended, right? Yay. So, except for I didn't even say it. Hooty hoo! That's what Mariner said when they was headed to they were headed to that black hole, and I thought that was hilarious to me. I kept playing it back. She just kept going whoop 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 whoop. So yeah. So anywho, yeah, this episode was something else, and I've spoken ad nauseum about my feelings on the inclusion of so much adult type of jokes. Of so many adult types of jokes and so much emphasis on sex. But overall, this episode really wasn't bad. What I enjoyed about it, I enjoyed. And of course, when you get to like the naked time was really, this part of the episode was what really kind of like, wow, are you serious? You know, it kind of went with what was going on in both naked episodes. The naked episode that we got on the TOS and especially the one that we got in TNG. But that might have been like, that episode might have been the loosest that TNG got with, the sexual innuendos. Star Trek Lower Decks kind of stays. They live in that spot. They live in that place. And it's concerning, but overall, this episode was a good one. I did laugh quite a bit. And on my scale, from 1 to 5, I'll give this one a 3.5. And I'm taking away a half a point because they talk about sex too much. It's just too much. They got to stop it. They got to stop. So, my question to you today is, what did you think of this episode? Did you find it as amusing? I was amused. Did you find it as amusing as I did? Or do you think that they just take things too far? Let me know down in the comments below. I am excited to hear your thoughts. I really am. Also, while you're in those comments, hit the like button. And if you've not done so, hit the subscribe with your notifications on so that you will know the next time I post a video. We got 2 more episodes left of Lower Decks. And a little part of me is like, yay! And a little part of me is like, oh. So tell me how you feel about this season ending. And since we're here, I'd like to say thanks. As always, I'll tip my hat to my patrons. My patrons, say hello to them. This is them with their funky music. So I enjoy playing the funky music for my patrons because they are the bomb. You can become a patron by going to patreon.com/Tasha Pierce, and you can pick a tier. Doesn't have to be the top tier. Doesn't have to be the bottom tier. Just so long as you support. And with all that being said, I ain't got a whole bunch else. I will catch you in the very next video as we wind down this season of Star Trek Lower Decks. And I guess that's it. It's over. Oh, you waiting for this. I just need you to do one more thing. Live long and prosper. Peace.